Don Maranzano started the five families of the mob and coined himself Capo di tutti capi, the boss of all bosses. Lucky Luciano, a hood from New York who took out two major bosses, which was something unheard of, and formed the Mafia like a board of directors, like a real company. He got rid of the term Capo di tutti capi and single handedly brought the mob to a force rivaling the government. He died a billionaire in an Italian airport. Arnold Rothstein, a Jew among Italians. This guy was literally the one that taught Maya and Luciano how to really run the mob like a business and take over. Maya Lansky, brains of the mob, literally just a Jewish kid, immigrant, friend of Luciano, along with the help of his friend Ben Siegel, started Las Vegas, Havana Hotel, many rackets, many gambling, worked with the government to study MK Ultra and how colors and lights affect people and make them spend more money. Underrated, died a billionaire, admitted himself he was broke, even though everyone knew that was a lie.
Well, actually, it started about 1965 when some newspaper man wrote an article that I have $300 million. Well, I wish I had $1 million.
Ben Siegel, another rare Jewish mobster that was also friends with Lucky Luciano, Meyer Lansky, Frank Costello. This guy single-handedly created Las Vegas. He had a career in Hollywood. He just had like a lot of financial troubles, mostly due to like bad women and just being bad with money, and that eventually got him taken out. But after they took him out, Las Vegas turned to what it is now, and he was the main one on the project, the Flamingo Hotel, which is still there today. Frank Costello, known as the Prime Minister of the Underworld. Him, along with Luciano, Lansky, Siegel, and Arnold Rothstein, really ran rum running in New York. You know that's what got them so much money in the first place. When Luciano was he went down in a prostitution ring, he left Costello in charge. Costello worked along with many Irish gangs to really run rum running himself. And since he had such a close relation to these Irish gangs, he changed his last name to Costello out of respect. But eventually, he passed away of natural causes, heart attack. But even when he passed away, he still had power in that underworld. Johnny Torrio. Torrio worked alongside Capone, Costello. He was really sent to Chicago by Luciano when they built a commission to run Chicago along with Capone. At this time, Capone was, he was a guy, but he wasn't the guy that you know today. This guy right here was the one who put Capone even in the position of power that he has today. Eventually, Capone set him up because he wasn't as open to money opportunities. But this guy right here is literally the reason Chicago and bootlegging were really a thing as big as they were. He just didn't want to expand, so eventually Capone had him taken out. Vito Genovese. Vito Genovese, it was one of the most prominent to ever do it. This guy was majorly involved in narcotics trafficking. He worked very closely with Luciano, Lansky, Siegel, all of these people, Anastasia. They were all working together. Eventually, because Luciano took a back seat and he didn't want the term boss of all bosses, but Genovese wanted to be boss of all bosses. So when he seen Luciano kind of weaken with all these court cases and stuff, he really tried to take them out, even having famous mobster Chin Gigante try to take out Frank Costello, which failed, but eventually Frank retired. And Vito really took over at that point, along with the help of Carlo Gambino when they took out Albert and Anastasia. But eventually, it kind of led to the downfall of the whole thing. And I guess Luciano was right, you know? Genovese was single handedly responsible for that crazy meeting where hundreds of mob bosses were running around through the marshes and in suits running from the cops because they busted the meeting. Eventually, Luciano had him set up because he was out of control and he basically passed away in jail. One of the guys who set him up was none other than his right hand man, Carlo Gambino. He's known for starting the famous Genovese crime family. Carlo Gambino. He was another one of the friends of Luciano and gang. He was just a little younger. He was really under Albert Anastasia, but eventually, when Vito Genovese wanted to take over, he offered Gambino to help him take out Anastasia because Anastasia was a threat. He was a force to be reckoned with. But eventually, they did set him up while he was getting his hair cut. That's a famous hit right there. And he took over the family. He was more known as a low key businessman. He kind of did stuff like that. Um, but he was known for being like he really had a lot of pull in the mob. He was one of the most successful bosses. Never got caught. Never got anything. Like very successful. Passed away of natural causes. Um, it's really what he's famous for. But I think what he's most famous for is he'll stab you in the back. He's like backdoor. This guy don't care. If he could move up in power, he would take you out. You know. And eventually his cousin Paul Castellano, he passed him that, and you know Paul Castellanos who came before Gotti. That's when we get closer to the current day mob, but he was a very prominent figure, one of the most powerful mob bosses in America. Albert Anastasia. I mean, nothing much really needs to be said about this guy. He ran the docks. That's all I should have to say. They literally helped the U.S. government during war, locking the docks down, preventing from any threats that would come in, which eventually made them almost untouchable in the crime world. They worked so close with the government just wiped away anything they did. If this guy wasn't backdoored, he probably might have been one of the most powerful mob bosses to ever live. He single handed, he ran the union, he ran the docks, he ran Murder Inc. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but that's like one of the most famous crime organizations ever. These guys were not a joke. This guy right here was not a joke. They feared him. To take him out, they needed two. His own one guy that worked under him, his own underboss, and Vito Genovese, one of the biggest mob bosses ever. You know, it's ridiculous what happened here. But I mean, you watch your friends close, you watch your enemies closer. It's just we thought his friends were his enemies the whole time, but this guy's no joke. You know, he is what started the Gambino crime family before Carlo Gambino even took over. It was the Mangano family, but really the Anastasia family. He was another friend of Luciano and them. Really, that's really what upset Luciano so much is when they took him out. And they took him out because they wanted to take out Luciano, but they knew with this guy around wasn't happening. This guy was no joke. He has so much power. He's one of the most powerful of all of them. You know, really deserves his flowers. This guy, one of the most influential in the development of the mob in America, one of the most influential in the development of America, period. Stay tuned for part two. I didn't want to make these videos too long. I'll just split them up in separate parts, so that you could get the gist of it, and you're not just sitting through some long documentary. But if you like these videos, please like and subscribe. I'm gonna keep trying to pump out good content about a lot of different things, not just the mob. I like to keep it pretty diverse. Thank you.